places that are today called Zimbabwe, Botswana, Lesotho, with those who rally around King Moshoeshoe. There was some conversation going on social media, and some were saying, do you say Basotho began with King Moshoeshoe? And then obviously it's not like that. There was always people who were speaking Sotho dialects before King Moshoeshoe. I mean, the Lozis and the Barotse in Zambia and all the way. It is always important to reflect on the family, but also the oneness of us as African people, as Southern African, or as the African race, as the black race. As we have explored how we have common identities, from totems to names to languages, that if you point out differences, they are very minor differences. And most of the differences are brought by external influences. But if you go into the etymology, the knowledge about our knowledge, the origin of our knowledge, you're going to find that common origin of our, which speaks to our bloodline beyond our current borderline, which seems to be artificial divisions and differences that we have. So this speaks to the oneness that we have, that black on black violence, it's futile exercise, it's actually genocide. Xenophobia, it's actually genocide. Tribalism is actually genocide. And we're genociding nobody but ourselves. So it's more like we're committing racial suicide or racial self-destruction. So with that words, I will really love to thank the presence of my blood brother, Pakamani, to grace us with his presence today. Give thanks.
Oh, thank you, Brother Tau. I mean, it's been great, It's been great. I can actually feel relieved, I feel relieved, I feel lighter, and I hope one day we will learn and accept that we are one people. And the countries that we occupy today, we haven't been in those countries longer than we have been outside those countries. When you look at some of the bloodlines, whether it's in Zimbabwe, it's in South Africa, they haven't been there for more than 500 years, for more than 600 years. And we've been in other places longer than we have been where we are today. So there is no need to be hating on our brothers in Tanzania or in Kenya or in Nigeria, because we share the same bloodline. That's why it's very important. In our spirituality, when you talk to your ancestors according to your bloodline. So whatever message you've got, you pass it on to your grandfather, you pass it on to your grandfather and then great-grandfather and great-grandfather. And you can actually find out that by the time you are on the maybe fourth or fifth generation of grandfathers, you are already out of South Africa. So your ancestors are not South African. Your ancestors are not Zimbabwean. Your ancestors are not Mozambican. So we follow that bloodline, and I hope one day we will really embrace that, and it can bring us together, regardless of which way you follow that bloodline. At some point, we all become one, but it's important to know how we become one. I know some people just say, okay, we are one, okay, that's fine, but we need to know how we become one, because we are living proof of that oneness.
That is true. That is true. You're right, because the Western scholarship from as early, I know Dr. Rebecca Kenna, 1994, she did was mitochondrial DNA studies to determine the common origin of all humanity beyond just the Africans or outside of the Africans. They did a study of more than 140 females, studied their placenta and to determine their origin, and they find that all these women that we have on earth come from one woman who lived in Central Africa about 300,000 years ago, which is within the framework of mtDNA, mitochondrial DNA, which they again tried to biblicize it and said the African Eve, you know, and we know that Eve was only 6,000 years old. So here we're talking about a 300,000 years old. So it can't be the African Eve, you know.
We don't have to refer. You know, the older cannot refer to the younger. It doesn't
work
make
like
sense.
that.
It doesn't
Yes,
work like that.
exactly. Eve is younger, so that must be the great grandmother of Eve, if Eve did exist for one, you know. Because more time we're even discussing mythology as reality. We take other people's mythology and try to make it our own reality, and we find like we're left with no substance. So I'm adding on what you're saying that. We need to understand how we become one in terms of the details of our clans, our totems, our languages, and to the cultural practices that are still evident today. It's not we're not talking about dead cultures here. We're not talking about dead practices, but we're talking about practices that are still there, so that are tangible and we can be able to affect.